Okay, and welcome to another edition of Knicks Verse. And today we're looking at the New York Knicks versus the Charlotte Hornets. We're going to take a look at their head-to-head matchup, some games from last season, take a little bit of time to look at that, and then most of our time we'll be looking at this season's matchup, my breakdown on what I kind of see from them, and try to give a prediction and go from there. So now as we take the time, we're going to look and see the matchup against the Charlotte Hornets. And here's what's cool. 61 wins against their 53 wins. So another team where the head-to-head matchup is in the Knicks' favor. Now also remember, they were the Hornets for a while, and then they became the Bobcats, and then they got their name back. So then they were the Hornets, then they were their own individual franchise, because the Hornets moved to New Orleans and then they became the Pelicans. It's a very, very weird how the transaction went, but now the Charlotte Hornets they have the line of what the original Charlotte Hornets were with Baron Davis and I think Larry Johnson and all those guys. If you notice, recently the Hornets have been a little bit better than the Knicks because in the 2010s the Knicks were only good for a little bit. Playoffs 7-1, and we've played them only when they were the Hornets, their original incarnation. 1993 and 1997. Very cool. Going into the games that we played them last season, we're going to take a look at the games and then where we were at that point in our schedule. January 11th, April 20th, nice, and May 15th. One game at Charlotte, and then the other two games were home. And we won those two games, which is also cool. We are on a 2-game win streak against the Hornets. So that is something to talk about, which I think is very good. In the first game, another game in the third quarter where we did not do so well. And really, they took the opportunity and beat us in every quarter. So we did not have a good time against them. But then again, you also have to remember we had Elfrid Payton, Austin Rivers, Kevin Knox. No one really played well. Randle 2 of 9 for 11 points. RJ 5 of 18 for 11 points, but he got 9 rebounds. Mitchell Robinson 12 points, 11 rebounds. Wow. We did not shoot well, 39% from the field. We did not shoot the 3 well, 24%. They really had our number on this game. 88 to the Hornets won 109 to 88. So not too bad for them, although sucks for us. We only made 9 threes. Gordon Hayward had 34 points. He went off. Devontae Graham, who I don't think is there. He might be on the Pelicans this year. We'll check on their schedule. We'll check in their, whatchamacallit, on their roster. 10 for 10 free throws. PJ Washington, you got to feel bad for him. He got finessed. 13 points. Terry Rozier. Terry's currently out, but we might see him for the first game. LaMelo Ball had 8 points. Interesting. But this was also his rookie season. Malik Monk is no longer there. He is on the Lakers. So, not that great. And we had a bunch of players that aren't there anymore. Dennis Smith Jr., Theo Pinson, Jared Harper, Ignis, Mitchell Robinson. No, pardon me. Austin Rivers, Elfrid Payton. All those guys are gone. So, the team that we put out last season for that game, not up to par. In January 11th. Okay, we were still trying to find ourselves at that point. Game 2, April 20th. The Knicks scored 30 points in 3 quarters. And then in the fourth quarter, we scored 18. So we had our foot on. Wow. It was a high scoring game. We really pounced on them in the third quarter. We beat them 109-97. We scored 31 points in the third quarter to their 16. RJ Barrett had 24 points. Randle had 16, 10, and 7. You know, now that I'm looking at these games, if there's a game where Julius Randle wants to get everybody involved, he usually has in the tens when it comes to points. So if he has 10 rebounds, 7 assists, 10 rebounds, 11 assists, he'll have 17 points. So he'll try, and I think a lot of those will come from free throws, to be honest with you. He'll get his N1, get his 2 points, and then make his free throw. If he goes 6, he'll get 6 points. N1s, that's 14. You know, something like that. You can account for these sort of things because he gets calls. D Rose had 17 points, 5 assists on 8 of 12. Those are D Rose stats from I think now on, and it could vary anywhere in between. It can go from 9 up until I'm waiting for a D Rose 50-point game again. I don't know if that's available, but that'd be great. I'd love to see it. IQ had 17 points, which is really nice. What did he put up last game? IQ had 3 points, so he really comes back. Taj helps. Taj is honestly a little bit better this season than he was last season, which is cool. Let's see what the Hornets put up. Terry put up 21, 7, and 8. He's the 2 guard now. Miles Bridges, who was starting to, 15 and 14. He was killing it back then too, last season. PJ Washington at 26. He got finessed. 45% from the field, 41% from 3. Cool. Next game, May 15th. Overtime game. Knicks won 118-109, which means in the fourth we took over. In overtime we took over. They got really hot in the third. So this team has the ability to score 30 points in a quarter consistently, because they almost did it in 3 quarters. Miles Bridges, Julius Randles sighting over 30 points. Very cool. Miles Bridges came off the bench and scored 30 points, and Devontae Grant, 38%, but they didn't shoot well from 3, 26%. This is the May 15th game at home. That's why the Knicks are 2-0 against them. Randle, triple-double, 33, 13, and 10. So we're waiting for Randle to get a triple-double. D Rose, 15. Nice. D Rose numbers. 6 of 9 shooting. Very cool. Burks, 14 points. IQ, 13 points. Burks was out for a little bit of last season, so health is going to be very important for him. Maintaining, getting good minutes, his minutes. Noel, we're going to have Mitch. Hopefully we're going to have Mitch. But no Gordon Hayward, no Mitch for us. Luka Vildoza. We shot 51% from the field, 42% from 3, 80% from our free throw line. Let's see where we were at the time. January 11th, April 20th, and May 15th. January 11th, we had lost. Oof. We were in a losing stretch. April 20th. And then we were on a winning streak. And then May 15th or something like that. 3-game win streak. Interesting. And then where were they? They were on a 4-game win streak. And after us, they went on a 4-game losing streak. Interesting. And then let's look at April. They were on a losing streak, a little bit of a losing streak. Portland was the palate cleanser, but they almost went on a 7-game losing streak. And then they went on another losing streak. Interesting. That's a pretty good narrative. Pretty good narrative for them. Now I want to take a look at the Hornets now. We have the luxury of seeing them in the regular season 4 times. I believe if we take a look here, we see them 4 times. So let's take a look at their roster and based off what I see from them, just kind of break them down a little bit. Miles Bridges is really coming up well. He's getting points, he's getting rebounds, but he's not necessarily getting assists. So he is their scorer overall. Gordon Hayward, 19 points. These guys play minutes, though. Their 2 main guys play minutes. Kelly Oubre's playing minutes. LaMelo Ball, what's up with him? He's playing 28 minutes. Interesting. Bridges, Hayward, they seem to be Hayward and Oubre seem to be carrying the load for the most part. Terry's out, so something might change when it comes to switching. Them. But if you look at their stats, pretty good. LaMelo Ball, 17, 5 and 6. Which is really cool. They're an interesting team. They're kind of quick. They pass the ball because look at all their assist numbers: 6, 5, 4, 2. So guys will find each other, and they do have these sort of like dump passes where they dump the ball. They'll set a pick, they'll roll, and then they'll draw their defender in, and then someone's gonna cut, and they'll dump the ball into the paint, and then someone can lay it up. Or what they do is they draw their defenders in. That's what they're looking to do. And so that this way, 1 or 2 other players are moving off the ball. They're going to look for a 3, or they're going to try to drive in, or they're going to dump in for a easy lay-in. And they're fast. They're going to want to get, not necessarily too quick, but they get back in. Like the Cavs, for example, I think they're a little different in the sense that they want to get to they aim to get to their offensive half court. They aim to get to the half court. Whereas for the Hornets here, they move. They seem to have pretty good footwork, and their chemistry, they seem to know where the other person will be. And you mix that with the play calling and maybe them being fairly familiar, really familiar with how their plays are run and trusting where their teammates will be. I think that's their recipe for success. The ways in which I kind of saw how to stop them, they are some times where they do leave the paint kind of open. The mid-range game could be there for the Knicks if they wanted to try. Stopping their pick and rolls, because their pick and rolls leads into them absorbing their defender, having their defender come to them so that this way another guy can kind of shoot really quick. So they're looking to kind of get into runs. They're looking to shoot the ball. They're looking to get in quickly. And also a guy like LaMelo Ball can drive. He can drive really well, and he has these like really cool layups that look somewhat exaggerated. He is a spark, and you have guys like Ish Smith, PJ Washington. If you really take the time and look at Mason Plumlee's play recently, he seems to be moving pretty well. He moves similar, the quickness of how like Jared Allen moves, but I think Jared Allen is a better overall player. But that doesn't mean Mason Plumlee isn't bad. I just think defensively Jared Allen's much better. But Plumlee can move the ball, and Plumlee will look to score. He would be what his overall strength, his strongest ability would be like Valanciunas. That's where he kind of is, in a sense, where like his strength, his big projection. So don't be surprised. This team, if I was a Hornets fan, I'd be very happy, because this team really has a good chance to win and to really beat their opponents. And it's not like other teams where it's a Cinderella type story. This is a legitimate team, and they have Miami and Washington. And for some reason, Washington is really good, and Miami has been playing very well. So because they have those two teams, and you see that with the Cavs because they have the Bucks and the Bulls in their division. So now that the Cavs are these teams are trying to get better, and the East overall is evening out. But you're going to see good teams or you're potentially going to see good teams, more likely in the East, in playing games. So I wonder how the East matchup versus the West and how that winds up looking. Let's look at their depth chart. Right now, what they seem to be having on the floor is a mixture of LaMelo Ball, Gordon Hayward. Right now, it's Kelly Oubre, Miles Bridges, and Mason Plumlee from what I'm seeing, because Terry's out right now. Although he may have played. Ish Smith seems to be like that type of player who, kind of like a Doug McDermott, he can seem to go off out of nowhere. So watch out for him. He's a point guard. PJ Washington also seems to be pretty decent. I want to see what from a stats perspective, what do they do home? Because when we see them, November 12th, January 17th, March 23rd, and March 30th. And we'll look at I also want to look at the Knicks stats as well. Pull these guys up. At home, LaMelo Ball scores a lot. He really likes his crowd. Gordon Hayward gets 21, and Miles Bridges doesn't score as much. But they pass the ball at home. Let's see when they're away how those stats look. Miles Bridges he doesn't pass the ball as much, but he really enjoys the crowd. Wow, they're averaging about 25 assists away. And then at home, they're averaging about 27 for the Knicks away, because we see them 2 games away, January and then the second game in March. So away, we're 24 assists per game on average, and we're 23 at home to their 27. Whew, okay. But I think defensively we're better. And defensively, because if we can go up against the Chicago Bulls team who has a stronger offensive ability, we can go up against this team. This team has, I think, a weakness could be their bigs. I really think their weakness could be their bigs. And the reason why I say that is because I know Mason Plumlee is averaging 10 and 10, and I get it. And he's moving pretty well. But your main guys are 1 through 3. For us, 1 through 4 has abilities. And I really like RJ's. RJ's probably going to get matched up against Miles. And I really like RJ's defense. And I think someone like Julius is going to take on maybe Mason Plumlee or RJ. I'm not sure what they would do with the way that Mitchell Robinson is getting his rebounds, with the energy that we're giving on the defensive end. It might be a bit of a struggle for the Hornets to see a team that's defensive minded and how they match up. So I think what it could come down to is for the Knicks a mid-range game, the ability to get into the paint, because they do have the Hornets do have nice bigs, but I think you can expose their bigs and you can really shut down Mason Plumlee, PJ Washington, Kelly Oubre. If anybody's going to try to, we got to make sure that we maintain their focus to 1 or 2 guys. This way, 1 guy is getting hot, 2 guys are getting hot. So if we could shut down Bridges, I don't know if Terry's going to be there, Bridges and LaMelo, or Bridges and Hayward, so this way we can get LaMelo into an emotional state, and defensively strips, stops. Blocks would be very nice. And if they foul, it would be really good to get them into the bonus early on to slow down, because this team is fairly fast. And for the Knicks, sometimes we have bona fide rebounders, but our passing can sometimes get a little stagnant, and we allow teams to get on runs, which is what worries me. But I think defensively we're really good, and defensively we're really starting to establish ourselves. And now let's see the schedule and compare so I can give a proper outlook. So we are going to see them November 12th, 2 games before the All-Star break, 2 games after the All-Star break. So this is a team that we're going to have to keep in mind. It's not like I think the Bucks, where we only see them, we don't even, or those other teams that I don't remember, that we don't have to see them after the All-Star break. We're going to have to make sure, and we have 2-game win streak and 2-game home win streak against the Hornets. So November 12th and March 23rd are going to be very important. Let's see, November 12th, this is for the Hornets. They are on a huge road. Golden State, November 3rd. Sacramento, November 5th. LA, Clippers, November 7th. Lakers, November 8th. Ooh, I can see the Knicks getting the first one. First game is November. Second game is January 17th for the Hornets. They'll be home, away. Oh, that's MLK Day. Their schedule's in their favor. And then March 23rd and 30th. And then they're home with possible games, because this team isn't terrible. Then they're on the road. Let's see the Knicks before I make a decision, because I think the Knicks can get that last game against them. We see the Hornets. Oof, what'd I say for the Knicks? November 17th. No, pardon me, November 12th. It's going to be tough for them, because they see Memphis and then they're home, but then Washington's now kind of good. Indiana could probably be their palate cleanser, but Memphis isn't an easy team to beat. New York, Golden State, Washington, they have some pretty tough one. And for the Knicks, when we see them, it's going to be November 12th after we played Milwaukee. I would say the Knicks get the first one. No, I'll say Knicks get the first one. 3 games in a row. Let's look at the second one. I'll say the Hornets get the second one. And will that break our streak? That might break our home streak. But I think they get game 2, the Hornets. I think their schedule will help them a little bit. Game 3 is March 23 and game 4 is March 30th. Let's scroll down to the both of them. For the Knicks, assuming that everybody on this team in this is going to be good, I think we can go 2-2 against the Hornets. They could beat us March 23rd and we can beat them March 30th. Knicks win game 1, Hornets win game 2 and 3, and Knicks win game 4. Those would be my predictions. I think the November 12th game suits us. January 17th probably suits them a bit more. So we're going to get a home, I believe, 3-game win streak, 3-game home win streak against them, then they're gonna beat us 3-game win streak, but then we're gonna lose the 3-game home streak on January 17th. We'll lose the March 23rd game, and then we'll win in the March 30th game, going 2-2 against the Hornets. With their sort of abilities and the fact that they can score and score really high, they're gonna push us. They're gonna push us transition. They're gonna push us try to make the game fast as opposed to slow. They're gonna try to get into our heads. They're gonna shoot threes. LaMelo Ball's gonna do his best to cut. Terry likes to dunk. Terry likes to drive. These guys like to shoot the fadeaway in the paint. Like I said, what they do is they pick and roll a lot, and they pass the ball. And at least two players are active cutters. At least one player is an active shooter waiting for the ball. So they're gonna cut in. They're gonna move. So what they're doing is they're maintaining their chemistry and their footwork and making sure that they find themselves open, so that this way they get a quality shot. I wonder what their overall stats are as a team when it comes to shooting. Their field goal percentage is 46%. For the Knicks, what is our field goal percentage from a shooting standpoint? We're 46.5 to their 46. So far, they have players shooting at effective clip. Decent players. LaMelo Ball does not have a good field goal percentage, though. He shoots a lot. So that's what I think. I think they could beat us in the assist game, but I think we could beat them defensively when it comes to getting our rebounds. I wonder what we get rebounds. 46 to their 44. Steals 9 to their, yeah. They seem like a team. They seem like a team that will steal the ball. They seem like a team that'll get strips. They seem like a team that will set their picks and do these sort of things. They seem to be well trained. I think it's their chemistry. I think it really is their chemistry, and they're finding each other. I want to see what that does for them. Because this team, I'll tell you, just to go back to their depth, this team has the ability. I don't know what. Their schedule might be a little tough for them, but this team has the ability to beat a team like Brooklyn. This team has the ability to beat a team like the Clippers, potentially. Memphis, possibly. I think they can give Milwaukee a run for their money. When they've lost, it's an overtime game, and so they've only lost twice. Once against Boston, and they've been every game except for except for one, they've scored over 100 points. In this game, they were 1 point away from 100. So this team's going to score. This team is going to score. That's what I think. 2-game, 2-2 series tied. And then that pushes us from a head-to-head matchup 63 to 55. There you go. Knicks versus Charlotte Hornets. Thanks, guys.